All right, good morning, guys, or afternoon, or whenever you're watching this video, evening. So we started with the hard stuff. Now we're moving on. We talked about converting fractions to decimals and fractions to percents. Okay, I think that you'll find going from decimals to percent, decimal to fraction a little bit easier. Okay, so we're going to do a quick notes video on that. So going from decimals to percent, all you have to do is move the decimal 2 places to the right, okay? Because remember, percent is out of 100. And this we would read as 35 hundredths. So we need to move that decimal past the hundredths place to get our percent. So if we were to do that here, then 35 hundredths is 35%. Okay? All right, so now here we have 985 thousandths. So again, we would move our decimal 1, 2 over to that hundredths, and this would give us 98.5%. Okay, because we had a number in the thousandths place, so that stays over behind the decimal. We have 98 and 5/10%, okay, or 98.5. Now here, what we do, we have 1 and 2/10 here. We still need to move that decimal over because this, we can pretend that there is a 0 here. Remember, when you add zeros, it does not change your decimal. So if we were to move this over 2 places to the right, that would then give us 120%. Okay, and I know that seems silly having more than 100%, but remember, that's if you go past your goal and you are above 100%, 120% here. And anytime you have a whole number, you will end up over 100%, okay? And then here again, we're moving this over 2 places. Again, there's nothing here. Well, we have to have a placeholder there, and we would put that as a 0. So this would then be 70%, okay? Because that 0, we added in here, okay? All right, so it's easy as that. So going from decimals to percent, just move that decimal 2 places to the right. All right, now fractions or decimals to fractions. So what we would do here is we would use the place value to read the number and write the fraction and simplify. So what it means there by place value, do you guys remember this little cheat that we had on Friday? So if we go back and we, bring that onto this screen right here, well, if I can. All right, there we go. There's our little cheat sheet. So here we would use that place value. Now remember, the 1 after the decimal is the tenths, 2 the hundredths, 3 the thousandths. So here we would read this as 75 hundredths. So that would mean as a fraction that this is 75 out of 100. Okay, now here's the key. We have to, ding, 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 simplify. Now remember, the question you're asking yourself, when you simplify, we want to ask ourselves, I want to type this, is there a number that goes into the top or goes into the numerator, which is the top number, and denominator, which is the bottom number? Okay, so that's the question that you need to ask yourself when we're looking, can we simplify? Is there a number that goes into the numerator and the denominator? If the answer to your question is yes, then you can simplify. So I'm going to write that too. If yes, divide by that number to simplify. Okay? Hope that you guys can still read that, okay? So those are our steps. Is there a number that goes into both 75 and 100? Do they have a common factor? Would be another way to say this, okay? Do they have a common factor? Okay, that's another way to say it. And the answer here is yes. So 25 goes into both 75 and 100. So what we would do is then we would divide by 25. And when we take 100 divided by 25, we get 4. And when we take 75 divided by 25, we get 3. Okay, so what I did here was I took it and I divided by 25, okay? Because there are 3/4 and 75 cents, and there are 4/4 and 100 cents, which is the dollar. So that's a way that you could think about that too, if you didn't know off the top of your head, okay? So this 3/4 would be my answer here. Now, 5 and 12, ding, 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 hundredths. So what we would do is our whole number is a whole number. That's a whole. So that's going to be our big whole number. 5 and 12 over 100. Now, I know that 12 and 100 have a common factor, and I'm going to tell you how I know that. I know that because they are both even numbers. So I know for sure that 2 is going to at least go into both of those. Okay, well, we've also determined, though, that 4 goes into 125 times. And we know that 4 goes into 12 3 times, because 4 times 12, 3 is 12. So 4 is going to be our greatest common factor here, okay? So we would take that in our 5, our whole number would stay the same. And 12 divided by 4 is, like we said, 3. And 100 divided by 4 is 25. So my simplified version of this fraction would be 5 and 3 over 25. Now, if you didn't see that 4 went into it right away and you divided these by 2, you would get 6 over 50. You'd see that those are both also even numbers, so we would divide by 2 again, and then you'd get to 3 over 25. So you would get there, it just takes an extra step if you don't do the greatest common factor the first time, okay? All right, so here we have 4 hundredths again. So we would take this and we would get 4 over 100. And remember, it's all about how you say that decimal, okay? So 4 over 100, we know that 4 goes into 4 one time, 4 goes into 125 times. Man, we're making this easy on you for these examples, huh? Okay, so we have 1/25 as our fraction. All right, and then this last one, we have 4 and 2/10. So this, our whole number again, would be the same, 4 and 2/10. So 10 is our denominator here. Now we know that 2 and 10 are both even numbers. 2 goes into both. So we do 4, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 4 and 1/5 would be our answer here. All right, so now we're going to look at percent to decimal. So if we're to go from decimal to percent, we move it 2 places to the right. To go from percent to decimal, we would just move the decimal 2 places to the left. So we're just moving it back over from where we started. So here, remember, if a number does not have a decimal, we know that it goes at the end. So then we would move this 1, 2, and this 75% would be 75 hundredths. Okay, 80% is at the end, 1, 2. That would give us 80 hundredths, okay? And you could also write that as 8/10. You don't have to keep that 0 if you don't want to, okay? 6, we have a decimal here. We have to move it 2 places. Well, we don't have a second place here, so we need to put a placeholder of a 0. So this 6% would be 6 hundredths, because remember, percent is always out of 100. 6 hundredths would be the decimal there. And then last but not least, we're moving this 34 and 5/10% over. Move that twice, and that would give us 345 thousandths for our decimal, okay? And that's as easy as that. That's all we do there. Now, last one would be percent to fraction. Now remember, percent is always out of what, everybody? 100. So as easy as this is we write the percent over 100 and then simplify. So we have 25% here. That's 25 out of my full 100. Okay. And then we would simplify that. And remember, to simplify, we say, what is a common factor? What is my greatest common factor here? 25 does indeed go into 100. So 25 is the biggest number that goes into both. 25 goes into itself one time. and it goes into 100 4 times. So it'd be 1/4 as my simplified fraction here. Here we have 30, so we could write this as 30 out of 100. And now a trick here is both of these end in a 0. So I know that 10 goes into them. So I'm going to divide both the top and the bottom by 10 to start out with and see where that gets me. So 30 divided by 10 is 3. And 100 divided by 10 is 10. Well, 3/10, there's no number that goes into both 3 and 10, so that is my simplest form. I'm good to go there. All right, 120%. So if we have 120 out of 100. To simplify this, I would see that, first of all, 100 goes into 121 full time. So we know we have a whole number there. And then we have 20 out of 100 left over. Okay, so here we can still simplify because I know that 20 does actually go evenly into 100. So 1 and 20 goes into itself 1 time, 20 goes into 100 5 times. So that's 1 1/5. Okay, and I know this is moving a little fast with these examples, but if you have questions, please, please, please reach out to me, okay? So with this last one, we'd have 275 over 100. And we would take that, and 100 goes into 275 2 times with 75 left over out of 100. And then that would then equal 2, because 25, remember, goes into 75 3 times, and it goes into 100 4 times, so it's 2 3/4. I remembered that from the last page, which is why I got to do that one so quickly. And as you guys work on these and common factors, you guys are going to notice those trends a little bit more and think about it money-wise, and it'll be a lot easier for you, okay? So that's it for all of our conversions. We have 4 examples of each, so I think we're going to stop there. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me and I can help you out.